A scorching Florida sun beats down on a solitary crossroads, where a battered photograph of a man yawns open like a taunt. It's 1967, and the legend of Luke Jackson, is about to be written in dust and sweat. Fans know Luke as the cool drifter who defies every whip and rule thrown at him. But, behind the scenes, a different kind of rebellion was brewing. The cast and crew of Cool Hand Luke have quietly revealed astonishing secrets that rewrite the tale of this classic. From a prison set so real it fooled inspectors, to hidden Christian symbols and the gritty truths the characters embody. Every roadblock and smile on that set carried meaning few ever expected. Before Paul Newman could sit at a pickaxe, the filmmakers had to build the entire prison farm. They constructed an authentic southern chain gang scene on California. Soil complete with real potholes and Spanish moss. So convincing that a local building inspector thought it was migrant housing and condemned the set for code violations. Even more astonishing, every scene of men working the road was shot with real labor. The actors and crew literally resurfaced a mile of highway outside Stockton, KA, under the hot sun. The chains on their legs weren't just props for the camera. The crew went full method to steep the film in reality. Meanwhile, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Just as in Luke's story, the chain gang set had its own hierarchy of power. The real convicts, the actors learned quickly that this world had no place for gentleness. Every exhaust-stained breeze and every distant bark of a guard dog reinforced that this was a harsh, unyielding world. Warner Brothers cinematographer Conrad Hall even admitted he chased the sun's glare straight into his lens, insisting on lens flares and bright, dusty yellows to make the heat tangible. Walking the dusty ground, the stars of Cool Hand Luke were asked to live as inmates, leaving their comforts behind. The crew sent a platoon of workers out at sunrise, filmed their genuine sweat and exhaustion, and captured something almost documentary-like in the finished scenes. In the process, the set itself became one more character in the story, just as real and merciless as the Florida heat itself, in pursuit of authenticity. Rosenberg banned any women from the chain gang set. Not even the actors' wives and girlfriends could visit for weeks at a time. Paul Newman, George Kennedy, Straw the Martin, and company lived in a bubble of male-only tension. No voices from home, no comforts of family, only sun, shackles, and the unspoken question of who would crack first. Even Lucille, the scantily clad woman who washes a car and drives Luke and his men wild, was kept hidden. Actress Joy Harmon spent 2 days in a hotel, away from the set, before filming. On the morning of the shoot, she simply walked out of a shack. At a distance, turned on a radio and hose, and started scrubbing the dirt off an old DeSoto, creating a memory that none of the men on set forgot. That moment was juicy, but it was the setup around it that no one saw coming. The guards, the cast, were kept unaware of when Lucille would appear, and, when she did, their genuine, unguarded reaction was captured on film. Rosenberg even had cameramen trained on the men watching Joy wash the car, rather than on her. The result was 3 minutes of screen time that became an iconic symbol of temptation and longing. Achieved with minimal film tricks. Harmon herself later recalled the scene as easy to shoot once Rosenberg gave simple instructions. Just wash the car, squeeze the sponge, have fun. She never spoke a word, yet her presence echoed like thunder in that dusty lot. Meanwhile, the absence of any female perspective kept the tension raw. Jo Van Fleet, who plays Luke's dying mother, had one day to shoot an 8-page scene in the mess hall, bringing tears to everyone on set. But even Jo was treated as an outsider of sorts. When she arrived on a covered wagon with a mattress for the scene, the men had already been working all day. In those moments, the conviction to remain in character ran deep. One legendary detail: actor Morgan Woodward, who played the terrifying boss, Godfrey, the prison guard in Mirrored Shades, reportedly never broke character even when the cameras stopped rolling. He kept the sunglasses on and spoke only in grim, clipped sentences to cast and crew. The set became a pressure cooker reach actor locked in their role, sharpening the realism of every interaction. Every glare, every suppressed punch. Asterisk, Paul Newman. stood at the center, but even for him, the role was a transformation. The producers fell in love with Newman's famously blue eyes. They reshot early takes to make sure the camera lingered on that gaze. In this dusty southern hell, Luke's eyes were to be the one soft thing, defiant and wide, flashing blues, of innocence and rebellion. One crew member later admitted they believed Luke's spirit came straight from those eyes on screen, so they showed them whenever they could. Newman himself knew he had stumbled into something special on set. "There's a good smell about this picture," he told visitors as production began. He bet Warner Brothers that Luke would be a success. And he was right. Newman later said he never doubted the film would click with audiences. Opposite him, George Kennedy transformed into Dragline, the unofficial leader of the convicts. Kennedy started out as Luke's toughest rival, so tough, he nearly ended the boxing match at the camp. But, as the fight wore on, respect grew. Kennedy threw himself fully into Dragline, even investing $5,000 of his own money in trade ads to push for Oscar buzz. It paid off. Dragline earned him Best Supporting Actor that year, proving the underdog convicts could win it all in real life, too. Behind the scenes, Kennedy kept secrets of his own. He recalled later that he and Newman developed a quiet friendship of mutual admiration, professional rivals, who fell into roles that demanded neither held back. And then there was Strother Martin, the sadistic captain who cracked the world inside the camp. His velvet threats, both monstrous and oddly polite, created perhaps the film's most famous moment. Strother narrated the lore of the chain gang like a sermon. "What we've got here is a failure to communicate." He would later clarify that he saw the line not as a slip of conscience, but as something his character learned in a Booker sign that even the toughest jailer had absorbed a little education from the state. Whether it was newspeak or a hidden meaning of his own, the line hit a cultural nerve. Behind Strother towered Morgan Woodward's boss, Godfrey, a tall, silent demon in mirrored aviators. To the inmates, he was the man with no eyes, a walking Mephistopheles who appeared wherever Luke went. Woodward didn't even speak in the film, but the set knew his vibe. He arrived before dawn, never letting anyone think he was just another actor on camera or off. He drilled the nonverbal menace into the ground. One morning, he walked past Newman and the other men, hunched up his shoulders, and whispered menacingly. Then the entire day's shoot erupted with nervous energy. Even years later, Woodward joked that people still recognized him from Cool Hand Luke more than from his other famous roles. His silence spoke volumes, making every one of his nonverbal cues feel like another layer of the cruelty Luke had to endure. Asterisk, as unbelievable as it sounds, every rock and road sign on Luke's journey carried a hidden message. Film scholars have pointed out that Luke's path mirrors the stations of the Crossies, a kind of dusty holy fool who drifts into a Texas square and starts a revolution by simply refusing to bow. After Luke downs 50 hard-boiled eggs in a high-stakes bet, he collapses on the table with arms outstretched and feet crossed, a tableau straight out of a crucifixion scene. One writer noted that in the egg eating contest, Luke lies like Jesus on a cross, while in the final helicopter shot, the Tulane Highway forks into a perfect cross, the repaired photograph of Luke's face, taped over it by fate itself. These details weren't lost on anyone who looks closely. Luke's journey from rebellious drifter to martyr becomes almost a parable. Even the songs underscore this spiritual battle. When Luke's dying mother visits, her farewell in the back of a pickup truck is accompanied by a mournful spiritual sung by the tramp Harry Dean Stanton. "In the days of toil that's near, if I fall, dear Lord, who cares? None but the..." Later, Luke vents his anger by crooning Plastic Jesus, a knowing, bitter parody of faith that surfaces just after his heartbreak. And, in the final scenes, Stanton's character softly intones, "No grave, gonna keep my body down," cutting against the harsh reality of Luke's fate with gospel hope. Every tune is laden with meaning. Each melody and lyric feels like a secret message in the quiet between prison blows. In this film, the outlaws aren't fighting ghosts, they're warring against the very idea of submission. Luke's greatest war is against the unstoppable machine of authority. Even the smallest acts a song, a laugh, or a stubborn grin become rebellion. When Straw the Martin's captain mercilessly whips Luke for a joke, Luke reaches up and punches him back. The captain, played with chilling calm, delivers the immortal rebuke, "Some men you just can't reach, so you get what we had here last week, the way he wants it." It's a line so famous it's been echoed in songs and late-night spoofs. But, in context, it feels like a code. The system can't break Luke, so it must crush him. Behind the camera, even the censors were uneasy. Early script drafts alarmed the production code office with their profanity and on-screen cruelty. Several agencies protested that its brutality was unacceptably savage. But society was changing as fast as Luke's grin by release time. The code could do little, and audiences were ready to see the cruelty of authority laid bare. Watch the film now. The prison world is textured, the violence is sharp but methodical, and the real savagery lies in the system's indifference to Luke's humanity. The cast themselves came to see it that way. In later interviews, the stars hinted that Luke's true victory is never physical. Dragline and Luke fight like bears in the yard. Luke escapes in a stolen truck. He sings, he laughs. None of it conquers the guards. But, by the end, Dragline realizes something. Even though Luke is gone, the system is broken. It's Dragline who whispers in that final scene. Luke's spirited defiance. His refusal to bow has actually shaken the prison walls. "I admire that he held his head up," Dragline says quietly, as the men work at the cross-shaped intersection. In that moment, Luke becomes more than a man. He is a myth that will never be caged. The last moments bring the secret into the light. Luke, after one final brave stand, is gunned down in the old church. He is carried away by the prisoners who loved him. And the very car driving him away crushes Boss Godfrey's mirrored glasses under its tire. In the half-light of death, Luke offers a weary, crooked smile, tiny victory grin, and closes his eyes. It's as if he finally understood something the guards never could, that he had won this quiet war. That as the car pulls him out of frame, we see through an aerial shot that the hard laborers now work at a crossroads, forming a perfect cross. On that cross, a tattered photo of Luke flaps in the wind, the tear lines forming another cross over his smiling face. In the eulogy, moments afterward, the convicts say it plainly. In his death, Luke defeated the system. His headstone is the road one remembers, and it's got miles and miles of road. Though Luke lies silent, the camera pulls back to show the sun starting to set on the heavy sky, and the men share a look. In that look lives understanding. Luke Jackson, the so-called fool, has taught them all how to stay alive in spirit, no matter what cage they're in. And that, perhaps, is what most fans never expected. His battlefield was a chain gang. His weapons a grin and a dare. But Luke's final lesson is universal. Against any authority, whether a prison captain, a war, or life's injustices, sometimes the only defeat is refusing to be defeated. Luke's dying smile wasn't surrender, it was a dare. It challenged us to remember, even in the darkest places, one free man's courage can leave a wound in the walls. And every time someone shouts his famous line, or smiles through hardship, Cool Hand Luke lives on. It's a victory that carries far beyond the dusty crossroads, whispered secret in every fight against the machine, and the ultimate hint that, sometimes, nothing truly beats a real cool hand.